So the New York Times, in its infinite wisdom, is trying to figure out why the show And Just Like That failed. Of course, it got canceled after 3 seasons. Now, there were rumors they were working on a 4th when they got news that HBO was going to cancel it. HBO was like, we don't want any part of this. We're tired of this. This thing's a train wreck. So this is an article, opinion piece by Jennifer Weiner. This came out yesterday, the 13th. Title of the article, In And Just Like That, a Craven era took its revenge on youth in hope and fun. Now, of course, And Just Like That is just a rehash of shows like, well, Sex and the City. It's just a rehash of shows like Will and Grace, Seinfeld, Friends, even The Golden Girls. And actually, they make a reference to The Golden Girls here, calling The Golden Girls a better show. Well, of course it was a better show. It dealt with real issues that people were dealing with in their 50s and the 1980s. 80s, early 90s. Now, the running joke on The Golden Girls was that Blanche Devereaux lied about her age, claimed she was 49 when she was probably in her mid-50s, but she didn't want to admit to it. And growing up in the South, growing up in Florida, everybody watched The Golden Girls. Part of Florida culture. So it is a lengthy article. I'll just read you a chunk of it here. Now, Jennifer Weiner goes through the background of Sex and the City, which came out, I believe, in 98 or 99. Talks about the characters. And then she gets into the reboot. So we'll start here. In 2021, HBO Max launched a reboot, and viewers re-met Carrie, Charlotte, and Miranda, now in their 50s, and of course you can't forget Samantha. If Sex and the City was a fizzy, edgy, envelope-pushing frolic, a reflection of a hopeful time, its sequel, And Just Like That, was overblown and dispiriting. It felt less like a romp than a slog. It's not an overtly political show, but it is a reflection of a very different era. When retrenchment was underway, many of those thrilling possibilities now feel impossible. Well, perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out there, perhaps women across America have been sold a bill of goods with shows like And Just Like That, or Sex and the City. Episode by episode, the show seemed intent on yanking happiness and contentment from underneath its protagonist, making them look like glamorous Rip Van Winkles as they bungled pronouns and interactions with black people and turned entirely ordinary parenting problems into crises. Our beloved heroines were exposed as physically frail, blinkered, clueless caricatures of the characters we once loved. But the truth is, folks, these characters in Sex and the City, they were just awful. If you think about Seinfeld, for example, and that was a great show. I mean, it really was. Those characters were awful. Look what happened to them in the very last episode, which was a 2-parter, or the finale. You know, you should be arrested for all the things you do with your friends. Sure, this unfolded against the backdrop of dazzling real estate and beautiful clothes with heroines who never seemed to worry about money, but the froth had blown away. Maybe it was inevitable given our current pendulum swing to the right when influential figures discussed revoking women's rights, not to choose but to vote, when trade wife is a social ideal, where 2 highly qualified women have failed to crack the highest glass ceiling, and the Me Too accusers are regarded with more suspicion and scorn than the men they accuse. Or again, maybe it's that women have been sold a bill of goods here. That you have to keep up with the Joneses. Now, there are stories circulating that when Sex and the City came out, you had a lot of women in New York City who tried to model themselves after that, going to the point of storing their shoes in their oven, rather than using their oven to cook meals so they could save money rather than going out and eating at all these different restaurants. As network after corporation after university have bent the knee to a new political reality, paying settlements, walking back DI initiatives, and tendering mea culpas to the ultimate Mr. Big, and just like that began to feel like an apology for Sex in the City. Did we tell you that women could be happy even if they were single, that it was okay to chase success instead of men, are bad? Well, when you've been telling women for years, for decades, that marriage is prison, they don't need a man, that men are evil, men are predators, what do you expect is going to happen here with the culture? You're going to have shows like Sex in the City. And you're going to have women, whether they're New York or Oklahoma City, somewhere in the Midwest, they're going to look at that and say, something must be missing in my life. Because look at them. They're happy. Well, the reality is, if you go back and you look at the series, watch these episodes, they're constantly complaining about their relationships. They're not happy. They want out. Because they were chasing a dream that was never attainable to begin with, based on a false premise. How did it, just like that, atone? How did it punish the ladies for the youthful optimism? Let us count the ways. Did you want to believe that Carrie Bradshaw had finally found her happily ever after with Mr. Big, resolving the profound recurring tension of the first series? Surprise! The sequel killed him off in the premiere, leaving Carrie bereaved and in need of hip surgery. And what was up with her not calling 911? Maybe you imagine Miranda peacefully partnered and living in Brooklyn. Alas, Miranda spiraled into an alcohol binge, embarked on a journey of sexual self-discovery, in bed with Rosie O'Donnell. Really? That included an interlude with one of the most justly ridiculed TV characters ever. But surely Charlotte, the most traditional of the foursome, is still content with her loving husband? Question mark. She is, except her children are spoiled and demanding, and her husband's got prostate cancer. Oh, you mean people deal with crap every day? Dear reader, I regret to inform you we have seen him wet his pants. Only Samantha escaped with her dignity intact because she gave the series a wide berth. And in one of the episodes of Sex and the City, I went back and watched some of these clips of Samantha. I'm not going to repeat what she said verbatim, because I try to keep this a family show. But she says, I have blanked all the men I can think of. I'm out of men to blank. She just couldn't get enough. She couldn't remain satisfied. She couldn't stay satisfied. Pardon me. Again, chasing a dream, an ideal that's never going to be. True, and just like that, offered some of the pleasures that made Sex in the City consumerist catnip. The women's friendship was still front and center. But mostly the reboot was a dispiriting trek through a world of hurt where all women's pleasures, all of her achievements, and success came at a cost. Well, yeah. You're just now figuring this out, Jennifer Warner? That when you spend all your money on shoes and purses and clothes and you try to keep up with the Joneses, try to make yourself out to be something that you're not, that it's not going to work out too well for you in the end? You're just now figuring this out? Candace Bushnell is the writer who created Sex and the City as a newspaper column in the New York Observer. But lately, the show has made me think of a different writer, Erica Jong, the spiritual godmother to the sex columnist and girl about town model that Carrie so gleefully embodied. Can't even talk today. Embodied. Carrie even name checks her in season 3 with the line, "Politics had always seemed as relevant to me as a new Erica Zhang novel." And she talks about Miss Zhang. They came out with this book, Fear of Flying. But then later on, her only child published a book, a memoir called How to Lose Your Mother, talking about how her mother was suffering from dementia, was a narcissist, had a drinking problem, was neglecting her daughter, kind of like Barbara Walters. Again, chasing that dream, that ideal that doesn't exist. It's never going to happen. For those of us who love the originals, the rise of the reboots feel chilling, especially since it could be decades before the next pendulum swing. While we're waiting, if you want a show about middle-aged women and the friendships that sustain them, where humor abounds and nobody gets punished for having sex or seeking fulfillment, there's always the Golden Girls. Less couture, more caftans, less Gramercy Park, however you say it. Gramercy Park townhouses, more Miami ranch houses, but all the joy and laughs that, and just like that, didn't deliver. But it goes back to women being sold a bill of goods, telling them that they're not going to be happy unless they don't have a man. Unless they don't go out and buy that $4,000 purse. But you have to be like these women in Sex and the City. And what happened in the reboot? And just like that, well, they turned out to be middle-aged, 50-something-year-old, sexually frustrated women who had more problems than they could deal with. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can follow me on Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. Go to X, Culture Confederacy at Culture Confed1 on X. Now you can find me at Substack. This is the Culture Confederacy saying, keep up the culture. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Thursday. Take care.